Hello, ladies and gentlemen. In 1984, something happened that changed the world forever. A moment that would mark the beginning of a new era in personal computing. It wasn't just the launch of a new product, it was the birth of a revolution. For years, computers had been large, complex machines controlled by those who understood the intricacies of programming languages and command lines. They were designed for engineers, scientists, and corporations, not for the everyday person. If you wanted to use a computer, you had to learn how to speak its language. But what if the computer could learn to speak yours? What if technology could be intuitive, friendly, and accessible to everyone? That was the dream. That was the vision. From the very beginning, the team at Apple believed that technology should serve people, not the other way around. Computers weren't meant to be cold, lifeless machines hidden away in corporate offices. They had the potential to be something much more, something personal, something inspiring, something that could unleash creativity and empower individuals in ways never imagined before. It was this belief that led to the creation of the Macintosh. This was not just another computer. It was different in every possible way. It wasn't controlled by a command line. It didn't demand that users memorize complex codes. Instead, it introduced something radical, a graphical user interface. For the first time, people could interact with a computer using images, icons, and a simple device called a mouse. You didn't need to be an engineer to use it. You didn't need to learn an entirely new language just to make it work. It was designed for you. This shift wasn't just technical, it was philosophical. It was about breaking down barriers and challenging the status quo. The established players in the industry believed computers were meant to be serious technical tools, reserved for those who had the expertise to operate them. But Apple believed otherwise. They believed that technology should be democratized. That computers should belong to artists, musicians, students, entrepreneurs, people with ideas, passion, and vision. Macintosh was not just a product. It was a statement. A declaration that technology should empower, not intimidate. But revolutions don't come without resistance. Many in the industry dismissed the Macintosh. They called it a toy. They said a graphical interface was unnecessary, that people didn't need something so simple. They believed the world wasn't ready for it. But the truth was, the world had been waiting for it all along. People didn't want to fight with technology. They wanted technology to work with them, to enable them, to inspire them. Macintosh gave them that. And it wasn't just about how it worked, it was about how it felt. The Macintosh wasn't just another gray box with blinking lights. It had personality. It had style. It was designed with care, precision, and attention to detail. Every element, from the sleek, compact form to the beautifully rendered fonts on the screen, was crafted to be inviting. It was the first computer that felt truly human. The launch of the Macintosh was more than an unveiling, it was a moment of defiance. A moment that signaled the end of an old way of thinking and the beginning of something new. It was the moment when computing became personal, when technology became approachable, when people could, for the first time, see a machine not as an obstacle, but as a partner in their creativity. This was not just another step in the evolution of computers. It was a revolution. And revolutions change everything. For years, computers have existed as tools built for engineers, programmers, and businesses, machines designed to perform calculations, process data, and execute commands. They were precise, powerful, and efficient, but they lacked something essential. They lacked the ability to connect with people on a human level. The user had to conform to the machine, learning its RID structure, memorizing complex commands, and adapting to its way of operating. This was the accepted norm, the way computers had always been. But what if it didn't have to be that way? What if a computer could be something more than just a tool for specialists? What if it could be a companion for creativity, a partner in productivity, an extension of the way people think and work? That idea was at the heart of what made Macintosh different. From the very beginning, the goal was not just to build another machine, but to reimagine the relationship between people and technology. It wasn't enough for a computer to be powerful. It had to be intuitive. It wasn't enough for it to process data. It had to communicate visually. It wasn't enough for it to perform tasks. It had to feel effortless. The Macintosh wasn't designed to design users to adapt to it. It was designed to adapt to the user. It introduced an entirely new way of interacting with a computer, one that didn't rely on obscure commands typed into a keyboard, but instead used a graphical interface that allowed people to navigate with a simple, intuitive device called a mouse. For the first time, a computer spoke the language of humans instead of forcing humans to speak the language of computers. Instead of typing cryptic lines of code, users could simply click on icons, drag and drop files, and open windows with ease. Instead of staring at a dull, text-based screen, they could see fonts, images, and documents that actually looked like real-world counterparts. This wasn't just an improvement. It was a fundamental shift in the way people interacted with technology. It meant that anyone, regardless of their technical background, could sit down in front of a computer and begin using it without frustration or intimidation. It meant that technology was no longer a privilege reserved for experts. It was something that belonged to everyone. But making technology more accessible wasn't just about convenience. It was about empowerment. When computers were complex and difficult to use, they were controlled by a select few. But when they became simple, friendly, and intuitive, they had the power to unlock creativity in ways never imagined before. Writers could use a Macintosh to craft stories with beautifully rendered text. Artists could create digital illustrations with precision and fluidity. Musicians could compose, experiment, and refine their work. Ideas that once remained trapped in people's minds could now be brought to life with ease. Macintosh was not just a machine, it was a gateway to possibility. The philosophy behind Macintosh was that computers should serve people, not the other way around. Technology should be an extension of human creativity, not a barrier to it. The goal was to make a machine that felt less like a cold, mechanical device and more like something natural, something intuitive, something that disappeared into the background and allowed the user to focus entirely on what mattered most, the work, the ideas, the creativity. A great tool is one that you don't even notice while using it. It becomes invisible, allowing you to channel your thoughts without obstruction. That was the essence of Macintosh. It was not designed to be intimidating. It was not built for the few. It was built for the dreamers, the creators, the people who wanted to do more, think differently, and push the boundaries of what was possible. For the first time, technology was not just a means to an end. It was an experience, a companion in the journey of creation, a canvas for imagination. Technology has always been defined by its purpose. It can be a tool for efficiency, for productivity, for power, but at its core, it should be something more. It should be something that serves humanity, that enhances life, that makes things better. For too long, computers had been created with a focus on their mechanics rather than their impact. They were designed to process information, to calculate, to store data, but they were never designed with the user in mind. They were built to be used, not to be experienced. They required people to conform to them, to learn their language, to adapt to their rigid structures. But technology should not be something that people have to struggle with. It should be something that works for them. It should be invisible in its complexity and powerful in its simplicity. It should serve people, not the other way around. The Macintosh was created with this belief at its core. It was not built just to be another computer. It was built to change the way people interacted with technology. It was designed to be intuitive, to be natural, to feel less like a machine and more like an extension of thought. Every element, from the graphical user interface to the way the mouse moved across the screen, was engineered to be effortless. The goal was not to impress with specifications or technical superiority. It was to create something that felt human, something that people could connect with on an emotional level. A great tool is one that disappears when you use it. It does not distract. It does not complicate. It simply allows you to do what you need to do, to create, to express, to work without thinking about the tool itself. The Macintosh was built with this philosophy in mind. It did not ask people to adjust to technology. It brought technology to them. It eliminated barriers, removed unnecessary complexity, and gave users the ability to focus on what mattered. The power of technology is not in its processing speed, its memory, or its technical specifications. It is in what it enables people to do. It is in the way it amplifies human potential. A writer using a Macintosh was not thinking about the software, they were thinking about their story. A designer was not focused on the technical process, they were focused on their art. A musician was not concerned with how the computer worked, they were focused on how their music sounded. When technology is designed correctly, it disappears, leaving only the experience behind. But this philosophy did not just apply to how the Macintosh worked, it applied to why it was created in the first place. Apple did not set out to build computers for the sake of building computers. The mission was always bigger than that. It was about giving people the tools to create, to share ideas, to build something meaningful. It was about pushing the world forward, not just in terms of innovation, but in terms of what innovation could make possible. Every major shift in technology has been defined by how it serves humanity. The printing press made knowledge accessible. The telephone connected people across distances. The airplane brought the world closer together. The Macintosh was another step in this evolution. It was not just a product, it was a movement. It was a statement that technology should not be cold and impersonal. It should be welcoming. It should be empowering. It should inspire. Technology, at its best, is not an end in itself. It is a means to something greater. It should not be about what a machine can do, but about what people can do with it. When technology is built with this understanding, it has the power to change everything. It has the power to transform industries, to elevate ideas, to give people the ability to shape the world around them. That is the true purpose of innovation. Not to make machines more powerful, but to make people more capable. The world has always been shaped by those who refuse to accept things as they are. Every major breakthrough, every great innovation, every step forward has come from people who looked at the world and saw not just what existed, but what was possible. These are the people who challenge the status quo, who refuse to settle, who believe that things can and should be better. They are the ones who question, who push, who dream. They are the ones who see obstacles not as roadblocks, but as opportunities. And they are the ones who time and time again change the world. Macintosh was built for these people. It was built for the artists, the musicians, the inventors, the thinkers, the rebels. It was created for those who do not just accept what they are given, but seek to create something of their own. The industry had long believed that computers were meant to be tools for business, for calculations, for corporations. But Macintosh was different. It was not just a machine. It was a statement. A declaration that technology should belong to everyone. That it should be intuitive, simple, powerful. That it should not be confined to those who understood complex programming languages, but should be available to anyone with an idea. The launch of the Macintosh was not just the release of a product. It was the beginning of a movement. A movement that challenged the way people thought about technology. A movement that believed computers should be personal. That they should be designed to enhance creativity, to empower individuals, to give people the freedom to do things they never thought possible. This was not the safe path. It was not the conventional path. It was risky. It was bold. It was different. But every great innovation in history has been met with resistance. Every new idea that has ever mattered has been doubted, dismissed, even ridiculed before it was embraced. That is the nature of change. It makes people uncomfortable. It forces them to rethink what they believe to be true. And yet, it is the only way the world moves forward. Macintosh was not for those who were content with how things were. It was for those who wanted to create, to push boundaries, to challenge limits. It was for the students who dreamed of writing novels, for the designers who saw beauty in the digital world, for the entrepreneurs who wanted to build something new. It was for those who were not afraid to take risks, to experiment, to fail, and to try again. Because that is what true innovation demands. It demands the willingness to step into the unknown, to believe in something before anyone else does, to take the first step when no one else is willing. The world does not change on its own. It changes because of people who make the decision to change it. People who are willing to think differently, who are not afraid to challenge convention, who see what others do not see. These are the people who shape the future. They are the ones who rewrite the rules, who break through barriers, who take ideas that seem impossible and turn them into reality. They are the ones who see not just what is, but what could be. Macintosh was built for them. It was built for the crazy ones, the misfits, the troublemakers, the ones who see the world differently. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do. Technology has always been measured by its complexity. The more powerful a machine, the more intricate its design, the more commands it required, the more it seemed to prove its worth. But complexity is not the goal. Power alone is meaningless if it remains out of reach, if it remains locked behind an interface that only a select few can understand. True innovation is not about making things more complicated. It is about making them simpler. It is about taking something that once required expertise and making it accessible to everyone. That is what Macintosh set out to do. Before Macintosh, computers demanded patience. They required users to memorize lines of code, navigate through command prompts, and follow strict rules just to accomplish simple tasks. The industry had accepted this as the standard because that was the way things had always been. No one questioned it. No one asked if there was a better way. But Apple did. The belief was that computers should not feel like work. They should feel natural. They should feel intuitive. A computer should not demand that the user think like a machine. It should be designed so the machine thinks like the user. Simplicity is not about removing features. It is not about making something basic or limited. Simplicity is about refinement. It is about stripping away the unnecessary until only what is essential remains. Every element of the Macintosh was designed with this in mind. The graphical interface was not just a visual upgrade, it was a complete rethinking of how people should interact with technology. Instead of typing out commands, users could point and click. Instead of navigating through endless text menus, they could see everything laid out in front of them. Instead of memorizing instructions, they could simply explore and understand by doing. The mouse was one of the most revolutionary aspects of this shift. A simple, handheld device that allowed users to navigate their screens effortlessly, selecting, moving, and organizing with ease. It took something that once felt rigid and transformed it into something fluid, something natural. The idea was that no one should have to read a manual just to use a computer. The experience should be so seamless that anyone could sit down and begin working within minutes. Even the design of the machine itself was an exercise in simplicity. Unlike the large, boxy computers that filled offices and labs, the Macintosh was compact, approachable, and beautifully crafted. It was not just another dull piece of hardware. It was a product designed to fit into people's lives, to be a part of their workspace, their home, their creative process. It was technology that invited people in rather than shutting them out. Simplicity also meant consistency. Every part of the interface followed the same set of rules. Windows, icons, and menus all worked in predictable ways, making it easy to understand how to use one application after another. The experience was designed to be fluid, to be intuitive, to allow the user to focus on what they were creating rather than on the mechanics of the tool itself. When something is designed well, it disappears into the background. It becomes an extension of thought rather than an obstacle to it. That is what true simplicity achieves. Macintosh was proof that technology does not have to be complicated to be powerful. In fact, the greatest power comes from removing barriers, from making things feel effortless. It was a reminder that innovation is not about adding, it is about refining. It is about making things work the way they should have all along. When technology becomes truly simple, it becomes truly revolutionary. Creativity has always been the driving force behind progress. It is the ability to imagine something that does not yet exist, to take an idea and bring it to life. But for too long, technology had been a barrier rather than a bridge for creativity. Computers were designed for calculations, for data processing, for logic. They were machines built for numbers, not for expression. If an artist wanted to create, they used a canvas. If a writer wanted to tell a story, they used a typewriter. If a musician wanted to compose, they used an instrument. Computers were separate from this world. They were cold, mechanical, rigid. They did not inspire. They did not encourage. But what if they could? What if technology was not just a tool for work, but a canvas for imagination? What if a computer could be something more than just a machine? What if it could be an instrument for creativity itself? That was the vision behind Macintosh. For the first time, a computer was built not just for engineers, but for artists, designers, writers, and musicians. It was not a machine that demanded technical knowledge to operate. It was a machine that empowered people to create. It introduced typography that actually looked like real printed text, making it possible for writers and publishers to see their work as it was meant to be seen. It offered a visual interface where designers could experiment with layout, shapes, and graphics in a way that had never been possible before. It gave musicians the ability to compose and organize their ideas digitally, opening new possibilities for sound and production. Macintosh was not just a computer. It was a new medium for creativity. Technology had never been this personal before. It had never been this intuitive, this connected to the way people think and work. It was no longer just about efficiency. It was about expression. It was about giving individuals the power to turn their thoughts into reality without the constraints of technical barriers. This was a shift that went beyond the computer industry. It touched every form of creative work, from publishing to music to filmmaking to design. It put control back in the hands of the people who had ideas to share with the world. It removed the need for specialized knowledge and expensive equipment, making creative tools available to everyone. Macintosh was designed with the belief that people are naturally creative, that they are born with the desire to build, design, and tell stories. It was not a machine that dictated how things should be done. It was a machine that adapted to the way people wanted to work. Whether someone was sketching an idea, writing a novel, or composing a song, the Macintosh became an extension of their creative process. It was not about the technology itself. It was about what the technology allowed people to do. The power of Macintosh was not just in its hardware or software, but in its ability to inspire. It was the first computer that people felt an emotional connection to. The first that made them feel like they were not working with a machine, but collaborating with a tool designed for them. It allowed people to see possibilities they had never considered before. It sparked ideas. It encouraged experimentation. It invited people to think differently. Creativity is not just about talent. It is about having the right tools, the right environment, the right opportunity. When those things come together, great things happen. Macintosh was more than a piece of technology. It was an idea, a philosophy, a statement that creativity should not be confined to a select few. It belongs to everyone. And when people are given the tools to create freely, they have the power to change the world.